Be flexible. Be ready for what's next. And bounce forward with Comcast Business. Get a powerful and reliable internet solution from Comcast Business starting at $69.99 a month for 24 months with a 3-year agreement. Plus, get free installation when you order online. And for a limited time, ask how to upgrade to get a $500 prepaid card. Call 1-800-501-6000 or go to ComcastBusiness.com today to find out more. Prepaid card offer ends 12/13/20. Restrictions apply. Limited to new Comcast Business Internet and One Voice Mobility customers. Early termination fee applies. Equipment installation taxes and fees extra. Subject to change.
Hey guys, Bob Cooney here, and I got to tell you about my favorite football bet this season. As I've been telling you, I've been playing same-game parlays on FanDuel Sportsbook in partnership with Valley Forge Casino, and it's the most fun I've ever had betting. All you have to do is combine multiple bets from one game into a single parlay, and this way, your payouts are even bigger. And what's cool, too, is FanDuel will refund the first same-game parlay you lose on any football game each week up to $10. That means you can bet a different parlay risk-free each week all season long. You got some big favorites this weekend. Kansas City, you got a great game in New Orleans and Tampa Bay. I'm going to take a long look at them. And if you like my picks when I make them, go ahead and bet them too. You'll get $10 back if we don't win. There's one catch. FanDuel is the only sportsbook app that has these same game parlay bets. So if you don't already have a FanDuel account, just use promo code Bob when you sign up. That's FanDuel Sportsbook, promo code Bob. FanDuel Sportsbook, more ways to win.
21 plus and present in New Jersey or PA. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. Max refund is $10. Terms apply. Gambling problem? 1-800-GAMBLER.
Sal, you gotta help me. I owe some people a lot of money. I mean, a lot of money.
Let me guess. The tax man said you owed him thousands in back taxes?
Yes. They said if I don't pay, they'll come after my paychecks, maybe even my house. Can you help?
Sure. I got a guy who can make it all disappear.
You got a guy?
Of course I got a guy. StrategicTaxResolution.com. They'll take care of everything.
When the IRS calls you, call StrategicTaxResolution.com at 484-915-3100. We have access to special government programs that can defer payments and settle your debts based on your ability to pay, reducing your tax bill by up to 90%.
Thanks, Sal.
Don't mention it.
I gotta ask, though, what's with the voice?
My apologies. I was out pretty late last night.
Want to make your tax problems disappear? Trust your guy at StrategicTaxResolution.com. 484-915-3100.
There are few things in life you can always count on. Sunsets, potholes, trash trucks in your way when you're running late. And of course, AAA's never-ending reliable roadside assistance. Because for over 100 years, we're always close, and we never close. From tows, jumps, or just smoothing out those bumps in the road, we provide 24/7 service so you can have 24/7 peace of mind. Join today and get 50% off at AAA.com/openroad. New members only. Other restrictions apply. See site for details.
You decided to upgrade your outdoor deck. So you ordered the essentials: a power washer, a set of patio chairs, and a shiny new grill. And you use your Bank of America Cash Rewards credit card, choosing to earn 3% cash back on online shopping and up to 5.25% as a preferred rewards member, which you put towards your most essential deck addition, a bird feeder. Apply for yours at bankofamerica.com/more rewarding. Copyright 2020 Bank of America Corporation.
WPEN, Burlington, Philadelphia.
A Beasley Media Group station. Home of the Ron Jaworski Show. We could top the NFC East with a 3-4-1 record. With the Giants, Browns, and Seahawks coming up in November, can the Birds hang on and keep the lead in the bad division? We're talking Eagles football, and this is the Ron Jaworski Show. Now here's your host, Ron Jaworski.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Ron Jaworski Show. And yes, we are broadcasting live from the legendary Riley's Pub at the Valley Brick Country Club. Great to see so many people out here. Social distancing, of course. Mask on when you're away from your table. So you got to keep all the regulations out. But good to see everyone here tonight. And as usual, tonight's show is sponsored by Bradford White Water Heaters. And a special thanks to Carl Pinto and all the wonderful people over at Bradford White Water Heaters, built to be the very best. And a special thanks to Kramer Beverage, Mark Kramer, Brandon Dalton. We all got that special on Miller Lite tonight. Thank you guys very, very much. And, of course, my guest tonight I'll bring up in a minute, but I always like this is like one of the favorite statements I love to make every year. Next Wednesday is Veterans Day. And all 7 Ron Jaworski golf courses, you veterans are invited to play for free. Your golf, your cart, you play for free for all the wonderful things you have done for our country. So all veterans on Veterans Day at the Ron Jaworski golf courses, you play free. You got to pay for your own beer, but the golf is on me. So it's one of the really, really cool days of the year. It's Veterans Day where we honor our great veterans, and it's a small thing to do for the large price many of you have paid for our freedom in the United States of America. So thank you, veterans, and hope you have a great time. The weather's supposed to be good. The way it looks right now, you may be around 70 degrees. So veterans, come on out. And we got a really cool show tonight because I got 2 guests coming right out of the box. Number one, Freddie Baxter, who had an 11-year career in the National Football League. Freddie, good to have you with us. Started out with the Jets, was with the Bears, was with the Patriots, and, of course, won a Super Bowl with the New England Patriots in 2003. Freddie, great to have you with us. And the next guy I want to bring in, he's calling in because he's a busy man. He couldn't make it down here to Riley's Pub and join us for all this fun that we're going to have tonight. But he really is one of my dear friends. We worked for a couple decades over at ESPN. He has done about every job you could do in the broadcasting field. The great Trey Wingo. Trey, welcome to the show.
How are you, man? It is great to talk to you. And this is why I know you're winning. I'm just trying to get 1 golf course. You have 7. So, congratulations.
If you've seen my game, Trey, you know I need 7. Yeah, I need a lot of practice. Everything good? Family good? I always get, formalities out of the way.
Yeah, we're good. We're healthy. All of that is good. Fred, good to talk to you as well. So just delighted to be with you guys.
All right. I always love getting Trey because he gives kind of a national perspective on how people look at our team here in Philadelphia. Number 1 in the conference. Hey, Trey, what do you think of that? 3, 4, and 1, leading the dismal, disappointing NFC East. What is the national perspective, not of the Eagles, but the NFC East as a whole?
Well, I mean, first of all, they have earned the right to be on top of the division. There's no question about it. But if we're being honest about it, claiming the NFC East title right now is like being the skinniest kid at fat camp. So, it's not – I don't think it's an honor you really want, It's like being the tallest jockey. I just – we've seen this before, though, in recent years, right? It was a couple of years ago, the Beastquake game when the Seahawks were 7-9 and the Saints were the defending champs and they won that game. And then a few years after that, Carolina won their division at 7-8-1, and they hosted a playoff game, and they won that one as well. But that was when Carson Palmer got hurt. But still, you get the idea. It's happened before. I'm really curious if there any team in the NFC is going to get to 7 this year, though.
No, I don't think so. I think if you look at the Eagles, 5-10-1 will win the division and get a home playoff game. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah, it's great.
It might win it by 3 games.
It's interesting you say that because if you look at this division, I mean, this was once the division everyone looked up to.
Yeah.
The Cowboys, the Eagles, the Giants, the Washington football team, once known as the Redskins. I mean, this was a dominant division. I mean, these are bloodbath games, and it was who's going to survive the season. And you look at this right now, it is god-awful. It is awful. I mean, the Giants, Washington, that Dallas team, and looking into some X's and O's, that Dallas team that played Sunday night here in Philadelphia was abysmal. It was awful. When I looked at the tape of that game, I said, how we didn't beat this team 42-3. I'll give them 3. I should have said 42. I mean, Ben DiNucci is their quarterback from JMU, who's never started an NFL game and thrown 3 passes. And they actually had the lead at halftime. I'm going, are you kidding me? So
yeah. There's no thing as a bad win, but there are good wins, and that wasn't a good win. Let's just be honest about that.
It was a win.
It was a win. To put it in perspective, Dak Prescott in the full fourth quarter that he played with the Cowboys, they put up, I think, 24 points, and the Cowboys have not put up that many points in the last 3 games without him. I mean, that's how inept the Dallas Cowboys are right now.
Yeah, it's a hey, here in Philadelphia, everyone's thrilled. The Cowboys are awful. Everyone's happy. Hey, the Cowboys are bad, but the whole division is bad right now. So as you spin it forward, before I bring Freddie and Trey, how does the division fall that far?
Yeah, well, it's interesting with the Cowboys. Obviously, everything they gambled on defensively didn't work, and the injury to Dak. And if we're being honest about Carson, he's a problem right now. Now, I think he can be better and is still going to be the franchise quarterback. But, his turnover margin, Jaws this year has been terrible. And he showed you in that game with the Cowboys that he can make the throws that are necessary. But he also did a bunch of head scratchers. And you're like, what are you doing? I think that was the Cowboys' first interception of the season or second interception of the season. So, Carson has not been as steady as most people would think, and that's a big problem with the Eagles right now.
Yep. I agree with you. I'll talk a little more about Carson in a moment, but I got Freddie Baxter here, who played in the NFL for 11 years, the tight end position, and I've always been a believer, Freddie and Trey, and to be really great on offense, you have to have that good equilibrium, that balance where the defense can never hunker in on. You're going to run, you're going to throw, you're going to run inside, run outside, you're going to throw deep. Use the entire football field. And I think when you lose your equilibrium, you get in trouble. You look at the Eagles so far now through 8 games, 63.7% pass, 36% run. That's 29th in the NFL in run percentage. So they've lost their equilibrium. 22nd in rushing attempts, 24.1. Obviously not running the ball enough. And on first down, the yards per carry, 3.3. Just not enough. So, Freddie, you're a tight end. That's what you've done. You made your living as a tight end, a receiver, a blocker. During your career, with multiple teams under Bill Belichick and great coaches along the way, was there like a balance you wanted to have 50-50, 60-40, 55-45? Was there something you looked for?
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you, Ron, for having me on the show today. And Trey, I'm very, admirer of your work you do on the TV, and I'm very fortunate to be here. Well, you look for balance, and you go into the game plan having your core plays, good at your core plays, and unfortunately this year the season been kind of difficult for the players, the coaches, dealing with this COVID and keeping the players and the families' mind focused on the game, and that plays a lot into the whole going to the game, going to practice, focusing and making sure that you are 100% dialed in on your job. And you're seeing a lot around the league. And right now, to stand here with the Eagles, I think the Eagles in a good spot because of the coach and his philosophy and his experience and his motivation, his talent of motivating his players, and they believe in what he's doing. And you got to keep focused on the whole balance part of it, and the whole being more of a team and coming together and playing for each other. And I think that will get them over the top.
Yeah, Freddie, I agree with you. I think Doug, obviously in 2017, brought a Super Bowl to this town. He's a damn good coach. We all know that. He knows what he's doing. This is a good football team, talent-wise, maybe better than good. But you know what I really hate? And Trey, I know you and I have had discussions about this sitting up in the studio at ESPN for a lot of years. And Freddie, you and I on the golf course probably talked about this. I hate underachieving teams. I hate guys that don't play to their ability and beyond. And as I look at this Eagle team at 3-4-1, they are not playing to their ability. And you know what? We could all make all the excuses we want. Freddie, I appreciate you throwing the COVID in. But 31 other teams are dealing with the same things. Everyone has to, there are challenges with this league. There's a challenging season. It's unprecedented. And you got to go out there. But this team has talent. This Eagles football team has talent. And I get concerned when I'm probably the biggest Carson Wentz fan in the world. When I went out to Fargo for his pro day, I came away, this guy's going to be really super special. That's how I felt about him. And for 4 years, he has played damn good football. And at times, taking this Eagle football team, particularly in the last season, on his back. But you look at him so far this season, and I look at the tape, and I'll get maybe we get a little later. But right now, the numbers, as we like to say, don't lie. 16 turnovers, most in the NFL. 12 interceptions. This is through 8 games. 7 all of last season. A passer rating that ranks 30th in the NFL, 73.2. Completion percentage, 31st in the NFL, 58.4. In a league where the good quarterbacks are throwing 70%. Yards per pass attempt, 29. 6.2. Doug Peterson has to find a way to get Carson going. Trey, in the quarterbacks league, that's the number one rehab job that he has to do right now.
George, you're exactly right. And real quickly before we go further on Wentz, just the point you were making about the play selection and how heavy pass it is. That sounds familiar, does it not? It sounds like someone else that used to coach in Philadelphia and a guy where Doug Peterson came from, and that would be Andy Reid.
That's correct.
You know, we all know Doug's a great coach. Andy is a Hall of Fame coach. There's no question about it. But there have been times in his career where you find him in the middle of a game. He's just calling pass after pass after pass, and it feels like some of that has sort of gone symbiotically, I guess, if you will, to Doug Peterson for being around him so much.
Why are you throwing out those big words like symbiotically, Trey? You know,
it's because I'm not at Riley's pub. I'm in a different pub, and I'm enjoying the pub experience.
No one understood what you're talking about.
It's deep from Andy's body to Doug.
You know, it's funny you mentioned, you know, the relationship that a coach has with his quarterback and the play caller, and the imbalance that the Eagles have now found. And we had Dick Vermeil on the show a couple weeks ago, and he was talking about Mike Martz. And, you know, and Mike Martz called the plays. The Rams win the Super Bowl when they were in St. Louis, and you know, Dick was the head coach. And he flat out said it. You have no idea, Ron, how many times I had to go up to Mike Martz as he called him plays and say, "Hey, number 28."
28. That's exactly right.
Marshall Faulk, right, Trey? And
run the ball.
Run the ball. Get this guy involved. He's our best player. You know, coaches and coordinators, you know, they're all geniuses. Just ask them. They'll tell you. They're
correct.
Geniuses. And particularly play callers. They're all geniuses. That's why they do it, because they love it. They love that part of it. But every once in a while, you got to get back to the basics of playing the game of football. Knock somebody off the ball. And I think to a certain degree, sometimes the Eagles get too enamored with their so-called talent and get away from the basics of the game.
I agree with you. And it helps the defense when they do that because it gives them a little more of a blow if you can move the chains 3 or 4 more first downs and take some time off that clock. Real quickly on Mike Martz, to that point, when he did take over for the Rams head coach and they took him to the Patriots Super Bowl 36 and everyone thought that was going to be a coronation, the Patriots basically dared them to run the ball with Marshall Faulk. If you go back and look at that tape, they were laying off to make sure everybody was going to be covered in that, you know, greatest show on turf offense. And they basically dared Marshall Faulk to run the ball, and Mike Martz wouldn't call it until the last play of the drive of the game when they tied it up before Vinatieri hit the game-winning field goal.
Trey, you really led me to this one. That is actually a chapter in the book I wrote a few years ago, the bullseye approach, the bullseye defense, because after that game, which we were all like in shock of why Mike did not run the football against the nickel and dime defense of the Patriots in that game. And in interviewing Bill, you know, a few months after that game, I mean, it was like we dared them to run the football. On first down, we played nickel. Later we played some dime. And, you know, but he played the psychological game against Mike Martz. And Mike Martz was like, I'm going to beat you my way, you know. Yep. And unfortunately, you know, sometimes you got to check your ego at the door and say, hey, give it to 28, you know. And remember that game, they called the bullseye defense because every time Marshall Faulk went out the backfield, someone smacked him. Yep. I mean, he ran a wide route, a flat route. He was knocked down, beat up that entire game. And Mike just said, hey, I'm not going to run the football. I'm going to keep going.
How'd that work out?
They lost. And Coach Vermeil, I think, is still upset that he didn't stay on for another year as head coach. The Rams probably would have won back-to-back Super Bowls in 2000, 2001. Fred is. I always think Trey. You know, with Fred Baxter, obviously, 11-year veteran in this league. You see today's NFL, and you know we get all these stats, and I got piles of formation stuff and how people line up, and it's amazing how this game has become so wide open. Here in Philadelphia, it's still the best personnel package. Of course, when you have Ertz and Goddard healthy, it's 12 personnel. 1 running back, 2 tight ends, 2 wide receivers. You put on the tape, and I called the game Monday night up in the Meadowlands between New England and the Giants. I mean, not New England, but excuse me, Tampa Bay and the Giants. And the Bucs come out. My God, they got 4 and 5 wide, and they are like slinging the ball everywhere. You watch Kyler Murray. You watch Russell Wilson. The game has changed, Freddie. Your tight ends are getting run out of business.
February come around, and you're looking at the 2 teams that's playing in the Super Bowl. Both of those teams have great tight ends. And
that sounds like you're the president of the tight end union.
Well, I mean, we stay together. And, we stick together. It's a brotherhood, but it's a very important part of the team. And with Ertz and Goddard, the way they're playing, no injuries. They're part of the game. But when they are healthy and on the field, and they're coming back, it's a difference. It's a difference. That middle half of the field, it's open. When you're looking at these defenses, and I think it's a very unique position.
To all our listeners, you're listening to the Ron Jaworski Show with Fred Baxter, NFL tight end for 11 years. So he's promoting, tight ends. We'll give him a couple minutes to do that. Make that fraternity feel good. And of course, Trey Wingo, my buddy at a couple decades over at ESPN. And as Freddie was talking, Trey, what was going through my mind? Merrill Hodge. Merrill Hodge for 25 years with the NFL Matchville. And what's the key to every game? The factor back. You got
exactly right.
But I guess if you're a tight end, you got to believe that. If you're a running back, you got to believe that. I kind of believe the most important position is the quarterback position, right? That's kind of
you're correct.
You're correct. But I have to block.
You got to block through the quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm important.
Fred, I'm glad you said that. What I hate, here's what I hate. You're going to love this. Wins are not a quarterback stat. They're not a quarterback stat. They're a team stat. Okay? To your point, if you don't block for Ron Jaworski on that game-winning touchdown he throws in the fourth quarter, doesn't matter. I hate the fact that we associate wins and losses to quarterbacks as opposed to how the team plays. Hate it.
But you know what? I'm going to disagree with you on that, Trey. I think the quarterback is such an integral part of a football team. I agree it's a team game. But if you have the quarterback playing at a very high level, the quarterback is the guy that controls the ball every single snap on offense. He's got to make the play when the ball is in his hands. And I think it's a position that is most looked up to in the locker room. If you got a tough hang-in-there quarterback, you've got a tough hang-in-there team. If you got a wuss quarterback that'll duck when the rush is coming and not hang in there and stay in that back foot, deliver the football, you got a wuss of a football team. So I kind of think as a tempo setter, the quarterback is that guy.
Look, all of what you're saying is true. But at the end of the day, let's just go back to Sunday, right? The Packers were upset at home by the Minnesota Vikings.
Right.
Kirk Cousins got credit for the win. He averaged 1.79 air yards per pass. His longest throw in that game went in the air 8 yards. Dalvin Cook ran for 4 touchdowns and had 200 scrimmage yards. Dalvin Cook should get credit for the win, not Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins was on the all-standing around team in that game.
Trey.
And you can go through a litany of games in the NFL where the quarterback, take for example, remember the immaculate extension few years ago between the Ravens and the Steelers,
yes,
when Antonio Brown shoved it over the line and won the division? Well, right before that, Joe Flacco did his job. He went right down the field, and with about 1:43, they scored a touchdown to take the lead in the fourth quarter. He did his job. It was then up to the defense to see if they could stop him, and they couldn't, and the Steelers went back down and scored. Yeah, so Joe Flacco gets credited with that loss, even though he did his job to perfection.
Yeah, but Trey, you're forgetting Dalvin Cook had that great game because Kirk Cousins handed him the football.
Yeah, I was about to say, I forget it. Somebody handed it off, right? Great job, John.
The quarterback has to manage the game. He has to be a great manager of the game.
Dalvin Cook did score 4 touchdowns on the first 4 possessions for the Minnesota Vikings. I think that was the first time since 1979. Ahmad Rashad with the Vikings, a former Bobby Moore out of Oregon. I don't know why this stuff pops in my mind. I can't remember yesterday, and I remember 1979. But, Trey, I can't thank you enough, man. I know you're a busy guy. You got a lot going on. And before I let you go, how's the golf game?
Look, doing good. I'm going to play tomorrow. I'm just waiting for an invite to one of your 800 golf courses.
No, only 7. You get the free air for you're my guest. And by the way, you can play for free next Wednesday because I always call you a veteran of maybe not a war, but you're a veteran.
My dad was a veteran, so I'll take it.
You're in. Trey,
All right.
thank you so much. I appreciate you joining us here on the Ron Jaworski Show. And Freddie Baxter and I will be back in just a moment here from Riley's Pub at the Valley Brook Country Club. Stay tuned for more of the Ron Jaworski Show.
This is the Ron.
Update brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
This is Ron Jaworski. I want to invite everyone to rediscover the excellence and diversity of my 6 championship golf courses. You know what first attracted me to the game of golf? It's the precision it requires at every level. At Ron Jaworski Golf, everything we do centers around you. It's the small touches that make golf so special. That's what drew me in years ago and forever shapes the way I feel about the game. Come enjoy our amazing signature golf courses or go to ronjaworskigolf.com.
Your wedding might look a little different than you first imagined, but that doesn't mean it can't be the most memorable day of your life. At Ron Jaworski Weddings, our 5 award-winning wedding venues are open, and we're meeting with couples daily, both in person by appointment or virtually with tours and video conferences. Voted the best of the knot and Wedding Wire 11 years in a row. See all we can do to make your day special at ronjaworskiweddings.com.
This is Ron Jaworski. I want to invite everyone to rediscover the excellence and diversity of my 6 championship golf courses. You know what first attracted me to the game of golf? It's the precision it requires at every level. At Ron Jaworski Golf, everything we do centers around you. It's the small touches that make golf so special. That's what drew me in years ago and forever shapes the way I feel about the game. Come enjoy our amazing signature golf courses or go to ronjaworskigolf.com.
Your wedding might look a little different than you first imagined, but that doesn't mean it can't be the most memorable day of your life. At Ron Jaworski Weddings, our 5 award-winning wedding venues are open, and we're meeting with couples daily, both in person by appointment or virtually with tours and video conferences.
Voted the best of the knot and Wedding Wire 11 years in a row. See all we can do to make your day special at ronjaworskiweddings.com.
And more. Plus, we've made shopping the way you
one that's perfect for you. It's the most fun you.
The Fanatic.
The Ron Jaworski Show and Steve Company, our DJ during the breaks, man, he gets everybody all fired up. I know you're hearing all that noise, folks, but we are practicing social distancing, doing things the right way, keeping everybody healthy. Yeah, put your mask on, Steve. All right, there. So you got to. I got to police this place. I got to do it. I got to Freddie Baxter. I got to have a good time. I look around. It's great to see a live crowd. I see an old friend, a longtime friend. His name is Dick Prince. And before we went on the air, he was telling me that he has not missed an Eagle game, a home game, in 69 years. And this year, because of the pandemic, he's not going to the stadium. But, Dick, thanks for being a great fan, my friend. That's pretty awesome. 69 years. When was the first game? 1951? I remember it well. November 13th, 1951 against the Lions. At least I can remember that. But, Dick, great to see you, and thanks for being an incredible Eagles fan. My guest here for the second half of the show, Freddie Baxter, who played 11 years in the National Football League as a tight end with the Jets, with the Bears, with the Patriots, won a Super Bowl ring in 2003. And Fred, maybe before we get back to some Eagles talk, the New England Patriots and Bill Belichick have lost 4 games in a row. It's kind of interesting how I'm starting to see and hear about players kind of chirping a little bit, former players making comments about Bill Belichick. Isn't it amazing? The minute you're not winning Super Bowl rings and hoisting the Vince Lombardi trophy, there's always someone chirping in the background negatively about you. What were your experiences with Bill?
Well, I had a very positive experience with Coach Belichick. A man that came to work every day prepared, and that preparedness he showed and gave to the players. And I see a lot of change there in New England. A lot of players has gone on, and a lot of new players are there, and they understanding the Patriots way. And it's going to take time. You had a great leader in Tom Brady that decided to go to Tampa Bay. That kind of put the organization back a little bit. Cam Newton came in the system. He's kind of having a difficult time with the system. Same thing we were talking about with Carson ball security is key in the system. Controlling the ball and getting the ball to the players and making sure that they are in the right positions and doing what they're supposed to do. That's a lot on the quarterback and the change for Cam. But with Belichick, he's a great coach. He's a great coaching mind, and he motivates the players. And you see a team that's struggling right now, but you're going to see a different team come here in the second half of the season. With the acclimation period, you didn't have that. You didn't have no OTAs, no training camp. You had a lot of new signees come in to the organization. That's every organization. But
yeah, and Fred, they also had a number of players opt out due to COVID.
Yes,
they were the first team that really took a severe hit by guys that said, "Hey, I'm not coming to training camp. I'm going to pass the season up because of COVID." So the Patriots are hit very badly by that. And you mentioned the Tom Brady situation, and you said, Tom left the Patriots. Yeah, he did leave, but he wanted to stay in New England. They made the choice, and hey, he's only been around 21 years. What do we need this guy for? Won 6 Super Bowls. What do we need this guy for? But I think it was a significant loss. In fact, I did a show with Tom Brady, a chalk talk, as we call him, at the Super Bowl Sunday morning. Obviously, the Patriots weren't in it last year. And Tom said he wanted to stay in New England, but it was the Patriots' choice. So, those are hard choices when you got the GOAT. Maybe you can believe he is the greatest of all time, or you throw Montana, Marino, Bradshaw, whoever you want to put in there. I personally think if you got 6 Super Bowls and you played 21 years, you qualify to be the greatest of all time. However, you've got to have a plan. I thought the Patriots missed a plan. Then they signed Cam Newton, who's a unique style quarterback, the antithesis of the way Tom Brady plays the game. So I can understand why the Patriots right now are struggling.
Yeah, the time is now with the correction of the mental mistakes, the penalties, which New England is not really a penalty team. You have a lot of the small aspects of the team that is coming out and is not in the benefit of the New England Patriots because they are making the mistakes. And I feel like when the ball is distributed to the right people at the right times and making the right time decision. Let's start with the quarterback. You're struggling right there. And Coach Belichick, and with time, he's going to right the ship, and he's going to get everything corrected. And I think the season is going to end kind of strong for the Patriots.
And you are listening to the Ron Jaworski Show, and we are coming to you live from Riley's Pub at the Valley Country Club. And as usual, every Wednesday, sponsored by Bradford Water Heaters, Carl Pinto, and all the fine people there. And a special thanks to our friends at Miller Lite, Mark Kramer and Brandon Dalton, for the support of this show for a number of years. And Fred, I'll flip the script. Let's go back to the Eagles. The bye week. It is. I think this is a critical time for the Eagles. They're leading the division. They will likely win the division, but they got to right the ship. And from your experience, how did the bye week help you? Or how did coaches treat the bye week? We know Doug's been good. Andy was phenomenal after the bye week, getting his team ready. But this is a unique year. This is the pandemic season. It's the COVID season. You see every day, you look on the screen, a quarterback's not playing, a wide receiver's not playing. It makes it a little difficult. So during the bye week, how important was that for you?
It's very important, and now dealing with the COVID, you have to be very, very in tune with the system, the protocol, the safety. And then now doing a self-analysis of the first half of the season, you have to work on the small things, ball control, ball security, taking care of the little small things, my injuries, the little nicks and pains, because this is the time now you want to win. If you got a plan to move into the playoff.
Get healthy.
You gotta get healthy. You gotta get
healthy.
You gotta get healthy. And the only way you're going to do it is coming off a win. You have the bye week. You have extra time to get healthy. To focus on, again, the small things that's ailing me, or I'm having some problems with anything internally. Just something to refresh, to reboot, to get ready for the next half of the season.
That's why the bye week came in a very opportune time. The Eagles have a chance to get healthy, and we always seem to focus on what they're doing on the offensive side, and the focus on the quarterback of all time. But I just believe if this team is going to get their act together for the second half of the season, the burden has to be on the defense.
Yes.
And I think in particular the defensive line. This is where Howie has spent the money and Jeffrey Lurie has spent the money. And by the way, I agree with it. I'm a big believer in offensive and defensive line play. If you have those guys, you're going to be in every game. You can sometimes lose a skill position player, but if your offensive line stays healthy, which it has not for the Eagles, and your defensive line stays healthy, which for the most part has been good so far this season for the Birds. But when I said what's disappointing to me, I don't think this team has played up to their expectations. I think it's an underachieving group on the defensive side. This run defense is 24th in the NFL. 24th. That's not good enough. The last 4 games giving up 5.2 yards per rush. That's not good enough when you have the Fletcher Coxes and the Brandon Graham and the type of Vinnie Currys and the players they have on that defensive line. Now, the good thing is they're playing with leads, and they are getting to the quarterback. 28 sacks, second in the NFL. So I think if this Eagle team is going to get hot the second half of the season, it has to be fueled by their defense. You played it with a lot of different teams, a lot of different coaches. What fueled your team to their success?
And again, Ron, coming off you got a bye week, and all of those stats that you just delivered on the defense.
I get all the stats you need. What do you need?
You got some good stats. And we have to work on that. We have to work on our run fits, making sure that we're in our right position. We're in our right gap control. That's what we work on now during the bye week. Making sure nothing physical, because it's going to be a rough 8 games here that's coming up. You have to work on the very small things that help us win, and that's getting the great run fits, making sure we got our right keys, not looking in the backfield, making sure we playing our zones. Communicating is key. It's key that we communicate and everybody's on the same page. I think it'd be a good season for the Eagles.
No, it's Freddie. I was up at the Meadowlands. I said a moment ago when talking to Trey, I called the game between the Buccaneers and the Giants, and the Buccaneers are a very good football team. The Giants had them on the ropes. If Daniel Jones doesn't throw 2 clumsy interceptions, they're going to beat them. So I think when teams like the Giants, like Washington, by the way, very good defensive team in Washington. Offense still struggling to find an identity, but defensive team. This is not going to be a cakewalk unless the Eagles raise and elevate their offensive performance, defensive performance, and by the way, special teams. We become somewhat accepting of great special teams play for a number of years under Dave Fipp. Jake Elliott's in a little bit of a slump right now. You can't miss chip shot field goals. You can't miss game on the line 51-yard field goals. As kickers, you're not going to get many opportunities to win a game. You got to make those kicks. You got to make the gimmies. So this is a team in Philadelphia struggling on offense, struggling on defense, struggling on special teams, and yet leads the NFC East. So what will be the key as we go to the next 8 games starting next week up at the Meadowlands? I guess Meadowlands, MetLife, whatever they call it up there now, up in New York.
MetLife,
yeah.
Well, we got to, again, Ron, we just got to focus on the small things. Come down to special teams. We know this time of the year, special teams is key in winning. Those points that you call chip shots, they're really not chip shots because you got a lot of factors that's going to be factored in with the wind, the ball cold, and all this different type of different of different things that can happen to the ball, of the trajectory of the ball. So you have to focus on it. You have to focus on the point of the ball you got to hit. When you're kicking the ball, you have to make sure you go right down the line and not sway and all the different type of stuff that you have, the fundamentals when you're talking about kicking the ball. And at the same time, when you're talking about the defense and the offense, we have to play complementary. We have to stay with each other. We have to keep encouraging each other. It might look ugly, but at the same time, we stay together. We know we can get this win. We're going to take it. And then that's what, to this point, the Eagles is playing, but I think if they stick together, they can play better.
Freddie Barnett here with Ron Jaworski on the Ron Jaworski Show. Since week 4, Freddie, the hottest receiver in the National Football League has been Travis Fulgham. That's right, folks. Travis Fulgham. People are driving their car on a Schuylkill right now going off the road. Who the hell is Travis Fulgham, the hottest receiver right now in the National Football League? How does a guy like this just slip between the cracks? Not only Philly brings him in, late in the preseason, but how does he miss in Detroit? How does he miss in Green Bay? How does a guy that, if you look at him on tape, looks like a polished NFL receiver? What the hell are these scouts doing now? They can't see this guy's a player.
Well, it's all in the individual. You can be told no so many times. Looking in the perspective of a player's eyes. Even me, when I came out of college, I was drafted in the 5th round. In those 12 years that I played in NFL, I had to make the team.
Yeah, but you played at Auburn as well. So, you played at a high-powered program.
Well, I played a high-powered program, but at the same time, that when you start looking at the eyes from somebody else, scouts, they don't know what they're looking at. But then all I want is the opportunity, and when you get that opportunity, you make the best of it, and that's what Travis is doing now, making the very best of the opportunity because of the injuries, and he's stepping up, and that's what we need if we want to go to the next level, playoffs and further. Is someone got to step up?
Yeah. I've just been blown away by his remarkable performance, and fortunately, I get a chance to look at the All-22, the coaches' tape every single week, and a few hours after the game, I really can't wait to get that clicker out, start looking at it, and it was interesting because, he was an unknown. I mean, literally, you had to get the flip card out and say, who's this number 13 guy, And I'm watching the 49ers game. And by the way, that 49ers game, the Eagles went out there in Santa Clara. But I watched Dallas, Washington, New York on the earlier games. The Eagles had that 8:20 game that night. And I'm going, this division stinks. I'm watching. The Eagles going to win tonight. They're going to roll. And Fulgham obviously catches a deep ball up the left sideline. Eagles win the football game. So I'm watching the tape, and what jumped out at me the next day as I'm looking at it is, when you watch a game on TV, they only put the ISO camera on the wide receiver, catch the ball. Oh, that looked good. With the All-22, you watch every route, every play. And I was just affixed on watching Fulgham because the guy is really good as a natural wide receiver. Good hands. Good ability to adapt to the ball, maybe inside, outside, high, low. Great body control. That's a key to a wide receiver in the NFL. Great body control. Speed, and I compared him to Mike Quick. When Mike Quick came to the Eagles, there was a faster guy, Perry Tuttle, that Dick Vermeil wanted to sign. He was drafted by Buffalo, but hey, didn't come to Philly. He said, where is Mike Quick? He's a good receiver, but not fast enough. Well, all the years I threw to Mike Quick, I never overthrew him. The ball was in the air. He went and got it. I mean, he may have timed 4.5, but he ran 4.2 when the ball was in the air. And that's what I thought about Fulgham. The ball's in the air. This guy's got that extra gear. You watch him come out of breaks, and as a tight end how you got to come out of breaks. Some guys drift up the field. That's a no-no. Quarterbacks hate that. You want a wide receiver, a tight end, back to the football. So you
quarterback friendly.
What'd you say?
You're going to be quarterback friendly.
Hey, hello. Hello, Freddie Baxter. Quarterback friendly. So how do I find it amazing with all the money teams, spend on scouting, finding the right players. It's not only the Eagles, it's all 32 teams. We get Arcega-Whiteside and DK Metcalf goes to, Seattle to see Justin Jefferson. And although I think this year, I think we'll be all right with Rager and the way things worked out in that regard. I think, but it sometimes amazes me the crapshoot that the draft is and getting to the right team in the right situation.
Yeah, you have a lot of guys, that test very well, and in congratulations to them. They are doing what God has given them the ability to do, and they're experiencing and they're getting paid for it. But then you have some guys doing the same thing but getting overlooked. But then those guys get that opportunity because they stick to the plan, and then now you have these players that come in the league that slips through the crack, but then get a shot on another team that does very well. And I'm very happy for those guys. And I can bet you that young man, Travis, he practiced on his game every day because he know that the situation he's been through, that it's just one play away. They can be somewhere else.
Yeah. How important is it to be hungry? I can speak for this myself. I went to Youngstown State. At that time there was a Division I AA, and I wasn't the big gun. But I'll tell you what, when I was drafted in the second round by the Rams, I went with a chip on my shoulder. I'm a small school guy. No one, maybe the Rams gave me the shot, but no one was looking at me. How important is that motivation? And by the way, I talked about Tom Brady a minute ago. When you talk to Tom Brady, you go, hey, Tom, you're drafted in the 6th round, the 199 pick back in 2000. You ought to see the scowl you get out of him. He is still ticked off about being drafted in the 6th round. He carries that chip on his shoulder. And I think every great player, and maybe Carson Wentz should start playing with a chip on his shoulder like Tom Brady does. Play a little angry. Play a little pissed off. That may set the tone. And I think guys that weren't the prima donna guys, they got that chip on their shoulder forever.
Yeah, and I was one of those guys, man. I was one of those guys that had a chip on my shoulder because coming out of college, my junior year, I had a great junior year at Auburn and all SEC, parade All-American, Kodak All-American. I broke my ankle, and I didn't play my senior year, but I still got drafted. So all I wanted was an opportunity. So I packed all my clothes when I got drafted. I drove to New York with all my clothes because I told my mother that I was going to make the team. I wasn't coming back home. So I had a chip on my shoulder that I want to be successful, and I got the opportunity. I was going to make the best of it.
So how tough was it?
It wasn't. It was tough, but looking at my parents and how they raised me, and being at Auburn and Coach Dye, God bless his soul, how he molded me. It was a great transition.
So you drove up from Pike County, Alabama, up to New York.
Didn't know where I was going. I don't know where I was lost.
And you end up in New Jersey.
I end up in New Jersey.
And playing golf an awful lot, too.
Thank you.
I might add it, Freddie.
Thank you.
So when you look at the second half of the season, what do you see for this Eagles football team?
Just take care of the small things. Ball control, security is key. Getting the balls to the right people. You don't have to be the stars. Just get the ball to the right people. Keep the defense off the field. Make the points when you have the points, and play together. Stay together.
I'm going to make it a little more simple. I'd like to see the second half of the season, Carson Wentz come out and throw the ball away a few times.
Yes.
It sounds like a simple correction to make. And what you love about Carson is what you hate about him. He will hang in the pocket. He will fight for every inch. I love that about him. He won't give up on a play. But I think as you grow older and more mature in this league, you got to know when to give up on a play. Look at Peyton Manning. I think of Joe Montana, the guys, Drew Brees. They know when to throw the ball away and live to fight another down. And his 5th year, Carson has to be much more adept at doing that. When a play is not there, get rid of the ball and live to fight another down. That's what I want to see.
I mean, and those are the final words I would like to say. You know, like Coach Parcells used to tell a lot of Vinny Testaverde, live to see the next play.
That's it. Vinny is pretty damn good with it.
Yeah, live to see the next play.
All right, folks. Hey, I do want to make a little announcement. I'm going to have a podcast coming up in a few weeks. We haven't set the date yet, but it'll be on Podcast One, and it's going to be kind of a Jaws picks. And Freddie, you know, I do understand people like forecasting games and making picks. And so far this season, against the spread, my picks are 66, 54, and 1. So I've been right almost 55% of the time. That's a pretty good – I think that's pretty good. So we're going to do this podcast, have a little fun talking football, and see what people may bet a beer or something on a nice Miller Lite and have a little fun doing it. All right, I want to thank everyone here at Riley's Pub, the Valley Brook Country Club, named after the famous Dennis Riley. And a special thank you to Trey Wingo for joining us in the first half of the show. Freddie Baxter, always great to have you on the show. Be safe, everyone. Well, for the football fans, enjoy the bye week, but keep watching football. Love you all. Have a great night, everyone.